broke every record. The boxer who made $1.2 billion will shock you. What if we told you the richest black boxer in history didn't win because of knockouts, but because he controlled the money? While some champions walked away with scars and empty pockets, others quietly built fortunes that changed their families forever. From fighters who sacrificed millions for principle to those who mastered ownership long before it was fashionable, these stories challenge everything we think we know about success in boxing. Stay with us on Legends of Black Excellence, and before we begin, subscribe, like, and share if legacy matters more to you than hype. Floyd Mayweather Jr. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is not simply the wealthiest black boxer in history. He is one of the most financially successful athletes ever across any sport. With a widely cited net worth of approximately $1.2 billion, Mayweather's legacy extends far beyond his perfect 50-0 professional record. His true achievement lies in how he reshaped boxing's financial structure and placed the power squarely in the hands of the fighter. From early in his career, Mayweather understood a lesson many champions learn too late: talent earns attention, but ownership builds wealth. After parting ways with traditional promotional contracts, he founded Mayweather Promotions, a move that allowed him to control ticket sales, pay-per-view distribution, sponsorship alignment, and event timing. This shift fundamentally changed his earning potential. Instead of receiving a percentage, Mayweather positioned himself to collect the majority of event revenue. The results were historic. His 2015 bout against Manny Pacquiao generated over $600 million in total revenue, making it the highest-grossing fight in boxing history. Conservative industry estimates place Mayweather's personal earnings from that single night at around $250 million. 2 years later, the crossover spectacle with Conor McGregor produced another massive payday, with Mayweather reportedly earning between $250 and $300 million, despite the fight falling outside traditional boxing norms. Was Mayweather the greatest fighter, or the smartest businessman the sport has ever seen? What separated Mayweather from his peers was not aggression or knockout power, but precision and patience. His defensive style extended careers, reduced long-term damage, and preserved marketability. Each appearance felt calculated, rare, and valuable. Fans tuned in not just to see him win, but to see whether perfection could finally crack. Outside the ring, Mayweather leaned into spectacle. His visible spending, private jets, luxury vehicles, designer collections, was often criticized, yet it served a strategic purpose. The lifestyle reinforced the brand. Whether fans admired or resented him, they paid to watch. In an entertainment-driven sport, Mayweather understood that emotion fuels revenue. Importantly, Mayweather avoided the financial collapses that haunted many former champions. While he spent freely, he also kept tight control over contracts, licensing, and event structure. Exhibition bouts in his 40s continue to generate 8-figure earnings, proving that his name alone remains a valuable asset. Unlike fighters who depended on endorsements or post-career commentary, Mayweather built a self-sustaining system. His earnings were not tied to championships, public approval, or governing bodies. They were tied to leverage. In the history of boxing belts, change hands and records eventually fade. But Floyd Mayweather Jr., his greatest victory was permanent. He proved that in a brutal sport, intelligence and control can be the most powerful weapons of all. George Foreman. George Foreman's financial story is one of the most extraordinary transformations in sports history. While many remember him as a fearsome heavyweight champion, Foreman ultimately became something far rarer: a boxer who built lasting wealth by reinventing himself long after his final bout. With an estimated net worth of around $300 million, Foreman's success stands as proof that longevity and wisdom can outweigh youth and brute force. Foreman first rose to prominence in the late 1960s and early 1970s, capturing the heavyweight title with devastating power. His early career earnings, however, reflected the era, respectable but modest by modern standards. Fighters of his generation lacked today's pay-per-view windfalls, and endorsements were limited. After his loss to Muhammad Ali in the iconic Rumble in the Jungle, Foreman eventually stepped away from boxing emotionally drained and financially uncertain. What followed was an unlikely second act. After years away from the ring, Foreman returned in his late 30s, heavier, slower, and underestimated. Instead of chasing speed, he embraced patience and presence. In 1994, at age 45, he reclaimed the heavyweight championship, becoming the oldest champion in division history. That comeback alone restored his credibility and earning power, but it was only the beginning of his real financial ascent. Foreman's defining business moment arrived not with gloves, but with an appliance. In the mid-1990s, he partnered with Sultan Inc. to promote what became the George Foreman Grill. Crucially, Foreman rejected a one-time endorsement payment and instead negotiated a share of the profits. That decision changed everything. Over time, more than 100 million units were sold worldwide. Reliable reports indicate Foreman earned well over $200 million from the grill alone, far surpassing his total boxing purses. Unlike many endorsement deals that fade with time, the grill fit Foreman's new public image: friendly, trustworthy, and relatable. He appeared in commercials as a warm, approachable figure, a stark contrast to the intimidating puncher fans remembered. That authenticity resonated with middle-class households and older consumers, helping the product dominate its category for years. Beyond the grill, Foreman invested carefully, avoided public financial scandals, and lived within a sustainable structure. He also became an ordained minister, author, and motivational speaker, reinforcing a reputation built on redemption and responsibility rather than excess. Foreman's wealth was not built overnight, nor was it driven by hype. It came from patience, smart negotiation, and understanding his audience. Where others chased fast money, Foreman chose residual income. Where others relied on fame, he relied on trust. In boxing history, many champions earned more in their prime. Very few earned more after it ended. George Foreman didn't just stage a comeback, he rewrote the definition of winning, proving that the most powerful legacy isn't measured in knockouts, but in decisions that keep paying dividends for decades. Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's financial journey is one of the most dramatic arcs in sports history. At his peak, Tyson was not only the most feared heavyweight in the world, but also the highest-paid athlete on the planet. His current net worth is estimated at approximately $200 million, a figure that only hints at how much he once had and how much he lost along the way. Tyson exploded onto the boxing scene in the mid-1980s with a style that seemed unstoppable. At just 20 years old, he became the youngest heavyweight champion in history. His fights were short, violent, and lucrative. In 1988, his bout against Michael Spinks ended in just 91 seconds and earned Tyson around $20 million, an extraordinary sum at the time. Across his career, credible estimates indicate Tyson earned over $400 million in fight purses alone. Yet earning money and managing money are not the same skill. Tyson's early success came faster than his ability to understand it. Surrounded by poor advisors and fueled by excess, he spent lavishly on luxury homes, cars, jewelry, and personal indulgences. Legal troubles and costly settlements compounded the damage. By 2003, despite decades of record-breaking paydays, Tyson filed for bankruptcy, reportedly carrying millions in debt. How does someone earn hundreds of millions and still lose almost all of it? What makes Tyson's story remarkable is not the collapse, but the recovery. Unlike many former champions who faded into obscurity, Tyson confronted his failures publicly. Over time, he rebuilt his life and finances through unexpected avenues. His candid podcast, Hot Boxin' with Mike Tyson, introduced him to a new generation, revealing reflection and self-awareness rarely seen during his fighting years. Tyson also entered the legal cannabis industry, launching a business that proved highly profitable in the American market. Media appearances, documentaries, and speaking engagements followed. In 2020, his exhibition bout with Roy Jones Jr. generated significant pay-per-view interest, reportedly earning Tyson tens of millions and reaffirming his enduring draw. Unlike his earlier years, Tyson's later success came with restraint. He diversified income streams, avoided massive overhead, and relied on structured partnerships rather than impulse. While he may never recover the full scale of his peak earnings, his current stability reflects lessons learned the hard way. Tyson's cultural impact remains immense. Few athletes have ever commanded such attention, fear, and fascination. His name alone still sells events, interviews, and merchandise decades after his prime. In an industry where relevance fades quickly, Tyson's presence continues to generate value. Mike Tyson's legacy is not a simple story of triumph or failure. It is a cautionary tale, a redemption arc, and a reminder that power without discipline carries a price. His wealth today represents not just money regained, but wisdom earned, and in many ways that lesson may be his most lasting victory. Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua represents a different kind of wealth story in boxing history. His success is not built on chaos, controversy, or late career reinvention, but on structure planning and brand alignment. With an estimated net worth of approximately $200 million, Joshua has become one of the most financially successful black boxers of the modern era, even without an undefeated record. Joshua's ascent began with his gold medal at the 2012 London Olympics, a moment that instantly made him a national figure in the United Kingdom. Unlike many fighters who struggle to convert amateur fame into professional value, Joshua transitioned seamlessly. From the start, promoters positioned him not only as a heavyweight contender, but as a mainstream sports figure capable of crossing into corporate markets, traditionally hesitant to embrace boxing. Inside the ring, Joshua delivered early. His knockout victories, imposing physique, and composed demeanor made him highly marketable. Major fights at Wembley Stadium routinely attracted crowds exceeding 80,000 spectators, generating tens of millions in gate revenue alone. His U.S. debut at Madison Square Garden further expanded his international profile, reinforcing his appeal beyond British audiences. But Joshua's real financial strength came from decisions made outside the ropes. Early in his career, he assembled a professional advisory team focused on long-term value rather than short-term gain. This approach paid off through endorsement partnerships with global brands such as Under Armour, Jaguar, Land Rover, Beats by Dre, and others, a rare level of commercial trust for a heavyweight boxer. Joshua's 2019 loss to Andy Ruiz Jr. tested his commercial resilience. In previous eras, such a defeat might have permanently damaged earning power. Instead, Joshua rebounded strategically. The rematch held in Saudi Arabia generated a substantial payday, reportedly earning Joshua over $60 million, and demonstrated that his value extended beyond the win-loss column. What sets Joshua apart is restraint. He avoided the excesses that derailed earlier champions and maintained a controlled public image. While not outspoken or provocative, his professionalism appealed to sponsors seeking stability rather than spectacle. In a sport often driven by controversy, Joshua proved that consistency could be equally profitable. As boxing shifted toward streaming platforms, Joshua also benefited from high-value broadcast agreements, particularly through partnerships involving DAZN and Matchroom Boxing. These deals reflected a new financial model where global distribution mattered as much as domestic pay-per-view. Joshua's career is still evolving, but his financial foundation is already secure. He may not dominate headlines the way past icons did, yet his influence reflects a modern reality. Boxing wealth no longer depends solely on intimidation or mystique. It depends on alignment between athlete, audience, and enterprise. Anthony Joshua's story is not about excess or survival. It is about control, reputation, and adaptation. In that sense, his legacy may define how future champions measure success not just by belts, but by balance. Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis stands apart in boxing history as a champion who achieved greatness without chaos and fortune without collapse. With an estimated net worth of approximately $130–140 million, Lewis represents a rare model of financial success built on disciplined timing and long-term thinking rather than spectacle or controversy. Born in London to Jamaican parents and raised in Canada, Lewis developed his career with an international perspective from the start. His amateur success, highlighted by a gold medal at the 1988 Seoul Olympics, laid a strong foundation. Unlike many fighters who rushed into high-risk bouts, Lewis progressed methodically, prioritizing preparation and opportunity over hype. As a professional, Lewis unified the heavyweight division during one of its most competitive eras. He defeated every major opponent he faced, including Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, and Vitaly Klitschko. Importantly, Lewis did not chase unnecessary fights late into his career. He retired in 2004 while still championing a decision that preserved both his health and earning power. Lewis's business approach mirrored his ring strategy. He selected opponents, carefully negotiated contracts deliberately, and avoided financial overextension. Rather than relying on extravagant spending or constant public attention, he invested steadily, particularly in real estate holdings across multiple countries. This conservative portfolio protected his wealth against the volatility that has undone many former champions. How many great fighters knew exactly when to walk away? While Lewis earned significant purses during his career, particularly from title unification bouts, his true financial strength came from what followed. He transitioned smoothly into broadcasting commentary and analysis, becoming a respected voice in boxing media. These roles provided consistent income without physical risk and allowed him to remain connected to the sport on his own terms. Lewis also benefited from a reputation built on professionalism. He avoided legal scandals, public feuds, and impulsive financial decisions. In an era when heavyweight boxing often revolved around chaos, Lewis offered stability. Sponsors, networks, and investors value predictability, and Lewis understood that credibility itself can be monetized. Unlike fighters whose earnings peaked sharply and declined just as fast, Lewis's wealth grew quietly over time. His lifestyle reflected moderation rather than excess, ensuring sustainability rather than spectacle. He never needed reinvention or redemption. His career followed a steady upward arc. Lennox Lewis may not dominate popular culture the way flashier figures do, but his financial legacy is among the strongest in boxing history. He proved that intelligence can be just as powerful as aggression, and that leaving at the right moment can be the most profitable move of all. Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard occupies a unique place in boxing history, not only as one of the most talented fighters of his generation, but as a pioneer in turning fame into lasting financial security. With an estimated net worth of around $120 million, Leonard's success was built on precision, knowing when to fight, when to negotiate, and when to step away. Leonard rose to prominence after winning gold at the 1976 Montreal Olympics, instantly becoming a household name in the United States. At a time when boxing was transitioning into the pay-per-view era, Leonard recognized the value of personality as much as performance. His combination of speed, skill, and public appeal allowed him to draw mainstream attention far beyond traditional boxing audiences. Throughout the late 1970s and 1980s, Leonard headlined some of the most lucrative bouts of the era against legends such as Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns, and Marvin Hagler. These contests were not only athletic milestones, but major commercial events. Leonard understood leverage. He timed comebacks carefully, often returning when demand was highest, ensuring that each appearance commanded premium compensation. Unlike many champions who struggled after retirement, Leonard planned for life beyond the ring early. He transitioned smoothly into broadcasting, becoming a respected analyst for major networks. This move kept his public presence strong without the physical toll of competition, providing long-term income and professional relevance. Leonard also built value through endorsements and corporate partnerships, capitalizing on a clean, charismatic image that appealed to mainstream advertisers. His reputation as a disciplined professional made him attractive to sponsors who avoided the volatility often associated with boxing. By the time he fully retired, Leonard had already secured multiple revenue streams independent of fighting. Equally important was restraint. Leonard avoided the financial pitfalls that plagued many of his peers. He did not rely on constant reinvention or sensational headlines. Instead, he maintained credibility-managed expenses and protected his brand carefully. His wealth grew steadily rather than explosively, allowing stability over decades. Leonard's legacy is not defined solely by titles or dramatic rivalries. It is defined by foresight. He understood that relevance could outlast reflexes, and that intelligence could multiply earnings long after speed faded. In an era when fighters were often consumed by the moment, Sugar Ray Leonard stood apart by thinking ahead. His financial success reflects not just greatness in the ring, but mastery of timing, the rare ability to know when enough is enough and when value is at its peak. Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. is widely regarded as one of the most naturally gifted boxers who ever lived. His speed, reflexes, and creativity inside the ring defied convention and redefined what was possible across multiple weight classes. Financially, Jones built a substantial fortune during his prime years with career earnings and assets, placing his net worth at approximately $90–100 million at its height, though that figure has fluctuated over time due to career longevity and business decisions. Jones emerged in the early 1990s with a style that seemed almost untouchable. He won world titles from middleweight all the way to heavyweight, a rare accomplishment that elevated his market value with each division jump. Unlike many fighters who relied on brute strength or endurance, Jones relied on instinct and timing, making him must-see television for boxing fans around the world. As his dominance grew, so did his purses. Headlining premium fights on cable and pay-per-view, Jones became one of the highest-paid fighters of his era. However, his career unfolded during a transitional period in boxing economics after the rise of pay-per-view, but before the massive guaranteed contracts seen today. As a result, his earnings, while impressive, never reached the astronomical levels later enjoyed by fighters like Mayweather. When greatness feels effortless, is it harder to know when to stop? What distinguishes Jones financially is diversification. Beyond boxing, he explored music, acting, training, and commentary. He released a rap album, appeared in films, and later became a respected analyst for major boxing broadcasts. These ventures extended his earning power beyond competition and kept his name relevant long after his physical peak. Yet Jones's story also carries a cautionary element. Unlike fighters who retired early, Jones continued competing well past his prime. The decline of reflexes, once his greatest asset, exposed him to losses and damage that affected both reputation and bargaining power. Each additional fight generated income, but also diluted the mystique that once commanded top-tier paydays. Financially, Jones avoided complete collapse, but he did not preserve wealth as efficiently as some of his contemporaries. Training camps, extended travel, and maintaining a fighter's lifestyle into later years placed strain on long-term accumulation. Still, his continued involvement in exhibitions and international bouts, including a high-profile exhibition with Mike Tyson in 2020, demonstrated his lasting appeal and earning ability. Roy Jones Jr.'s legacy is complex. He showed how extraordinary talent can create opportunity, but also how difficult it can be to walk away when the spotlight remains available. His wealth reflects both triumph and trade-off, a reminder that brilliance opens doors, but restraint determines how long success lasts. In the end, Jones didn't just challenge opponents, he challenged the limits of human ability. Financially, he stands as proof that greatness can generate fortune, but wisdom determines how much of it remains. Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder's financial story is unlike that of most heavyweight champions. He did not build wealth through technical mastery, global endorsements, or a carefully polished public image. Instead, Wilder's rise was fueled by extraordinary punching power, selective matchmaking, and ultimately, one rivalry that transformed his earning capacity. At his peak, Wilder's net worth is estimated at approximately $60 million, a significant figure shaped by a relatively short window at the top. Wilder entered boxing later than most elite fighters. Coming from a difficult personal background, he turned to the sport in his early 20s with the goal of supporting his family. Despite limited amateur experience, he won a bronze medal at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, a result that fast-tracked his professional career and earned him early promotional backing in the United States. As a professional, Wilder developed a reputation for one thing above all else: devastating knockout ability. His right hand ended fights suddenly and repeatedly, allowing him to remain unbeaten while refining other aspects of his game. This knockout streak built excitement and helped him capture the WBC heavyweight title in 2015, establishing him as a recognizable name in a division searching for American relevance. Financially, Wilder's early title defenses were solid, but not spectacular. His purses during this period reflected cable-era economics rather than global superstardom. That changed dramatically when he collided with Tyson Fury. Their first bout in 2018, followed by 2 rematches, became the defining chapter of Wilder's career. These fights generated major pay-per-view sales and international attention, elevating Wilder's earnings into a different category. Reliable industry reports suggest Wilder earned tens of millions of dollars across the Fury trilogy, with his largest single payday coming in the later fights. While exact figures vary, conservative estimates place his total earnings from those bouts well above anything he earned previously combined. For Wilder, timing was everything. He met Fury at the precise moment when heavyweight boxing regained mainstream interest. Unlike some contemporaries, Wilder did not rely heavily on endorsements or corporate sponsorships. His persona, intense, uncompromising, and sometimes polarizing, limited mainstream brand appeal, but reinforced his image among core boxing fans. His income remained primarily fight-driven, making each bout critically important to financial growth. After consecutive losses to Fury, Wilder's bargaining power diminished, highlighting the volatility of a career built on momentum rather than infrastructure. Still, his name retains value. Heavyweight punchers remain marketable, and Wilder's knockout reputation ensures continued interest, particularly in comeback or redemption scenarios. Wilder's financial legacy reflects both opportunity and limitation. He proved that raw ability could generate real wealth even without polished technique or global branding. At the same time, his career underscores the risk of relying on a narrow skill set in a sport where margins shift quickly. Deontay Wilder did not redefine boxing economics, nor did he build generational wealth. But he capitalized on his moment-turned power into profit and secured financial stability that once seemed unimaginable. In heavyweight boxing, sometimes one punch and one rivalry is enough to change a life. Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier's financial story cannot be measured by modern boxing standards alone. Fighting in an era before massive pay-per-view contracts and global television rights, Frazier built his wealth through grit, timing, and some of the most consequential bouts in sports history. At his peak, his net worth was estimated at around $40 million, a substantial achievement given the economic limits of his time. Frazier rose from Beaufort, South Carolina, carrying a relentless style that defined his identity. Shorter than most heavyweights, he compensated with pressure endurance and his iconic left hook. After winning gold at the 1964 Tokyo Olympics, he transitioned into the professional ranks with momentum and purpose. Unlike later generations, Frazier entered a boxing world where fighters were paid primarily for championships and gate receipts, not long-term brand value. His reign as heavyweight champion coincided with boxing's most politically and culturally charged period. Frazier's 1971 bout against Muhammad Ali, later dubbed the Fight of the Century, remains one of the highest-grossing sporting events of its era. The fight generated millions in revenue globally, and while the purses seem modest today, Frazier earned what would now equate to several tens of millions when adjusted for inflation. How much would Joe Frazier be worth if he fought in today's pay-per-view era? The rivalry with Ali defined both Frazier's legacy and earnings. Their three-fight trilogy produced historic gates and international attention, placing Frazier at the center of boxing's golden age. However, unlike Ali, Frazier did not benefit from extensive endorsement opportunities or post-career licensing deals. His public image was more reserved, less theatrical, and less commercially adaptable in a rapidly changing media landscape. After retiring, Frazier faced challenges that many fighters of his generation encountered. Medical expenses, business setbacks, and limited residual income reduced the long-term security of his wealth. He later operated a small boxing gym in Philadelphia, remaining close to the sport, but far removed from the financial heights he once reached. Despite these struggles, Frazier's earnings were earned honestly and without excess. He avoided the lavish lifestyles that later became synonymous with heavyweight champions. His financial decline was not the result of recklessness, but of timing. He fought before boxing became a global entertainment machine capable of producing generational fortunes. Frazier's importance extends beyond numbers. He proved that determination and discipline could overcome physical disadvantages. His battles with Ali elevated boxing into a cultural force and laid the groundwork for the massive financial growth that followed in later decades. Joe Frazier did not become rich by modern standards, nor did he leave behind a corporate empire. What he left instead was credibility. His wealth story reflects a generation that built the sport's foundation without fully sharing in its future rewards. In boxing history, few men paid a higher price for greatness, and few earned their place with more honesty. Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali's financial legacy is inseparable from his cultural impact. While his estimated net worth at the time of his death in 2016 was approximately $50 to $60 million, focusing solely on numbers, misses the true scale of his value. Ali did not become the richest boxer in history, but he became the most important, and in doing so, he reshaped how athletes would earn money for generations after him. Ali rose to global prominence after winning gold at the 1960 Rome Olympics, bringing speed confidence and verbal brilliance that boxing had never seen before. As a professional, he drew attention not just with his footwork and reflexes, but with his voice. He promoted his own fights at a time when fighters were expected to stay silent, challenging promoters, media, and public expectations. At his peak, Ali earned record-setting purses for the era. His 1974 Rumble in the Jungle bout against George Foreman reportedly paid him around $5.5 million, an unprecedented sum at the time. His trilogy with Joe Frazier, especially the 1975 Thrilla in Manila, generated massive global revenue and cemented Ali as boxing's central figure during its most visible decade. Adjusted for inflation, Ali's career earnings would rank far higher than the raw figures suggest. Ali's finances were deeply affected by choices that extended beyond sport. His refusal to be drafted into the Vietnam War cost him over 3 years of his prime earning window. During that suspension, he lost titles, purses, and endorsement opportunities. Yet that decision elevated him into a global symbol of conscience, civil rights, and personal conviction, a status no contract could buy. Unlike modern fighters, Ali did not benefit from long-term equity deals or ownership structures. Endorsements during his era were limited, and licensing laws were less developed. In later years, Ali earned income through speaking engagements, book deals, appearances, and controlled use of his image. These ventures provided stability, but not exponential growth. Health also played a role. Parkinson's disease limited Ali's ability to capitalize on his fame in the later stages of life. Medical expenses and reduced mobility curtailed earning potential that in today's environment would likely have reached extraordinary levels. Yet Ali's estate continues to generate revenue through carefully managed licensing and cultural projects. His image, words, and legacy remain among the most recognized in the world. Corporations, educators, and institutions still seek association with his name, proof that his value endures beyond his lifetime. Muhammad Ali did not chase wealth the way later champions would. He chased meaning, identity, and justice, often at personal financial cost. In doing so, he expanded the boundaries of what athletes could represent and demand. If Floyd Mayweather mastered money, Muhammad Ali mastered influence. And while influence cannot always be measured in dollars, it is the reason so many fighters after him were finally able to earn them. From Muhammad Ali's moral courage to Floyd Mayweather's financial dominance, these men did far more than win fights. They reshaped boxing's economy, image, and future, each in his own way. Yet the question remains, who truly won the game? Is greatness measured by titles, by money, or by the doors opened for those who followed? Some sacrificed wealth for principle. Others mastered ownership and control. History celebrates them all, but debate defines their legacy. On Legends of Black Excellence, we ask you which path matters most and why.